Before magnetism becomes visible, it becomes ordered. This order is not imposed from the outside. It forms internally, quietly, long before outcomes begin to shift. The archive refers to this internal ordering as coherence, not as a metaphor but as a functional state with measurable consequences. Coherence is alignment across systems. When thought, emotion, intention, and action move in the same direction, internal friction decreases. Energy that was previously lost to contradiction becomes available for perception, response, and timing. Most people underestimate how much energy they lose to internal conflict. They want one thing, fear another, say a third, and do a fourth. Each mismatch introduces noise. Noise fragments attention. Fragmented attention weakens signal. The result is effort without traction. Coherence reverses this. In a coherent state, the mind does not argue with itself. Decisions arrive with less delay. Emotions pass through without hijacking behavior. Attention remains stable rather than reactive. This stability is not emotional flatness. It is regulation. The archive emphasizes this distinction because coherence is often mistaken for positivity, optimism, or emotional suppression. None of these produce magnetism. Forced positivity increases internal tension. Suppression stores unresolved energy. Optimism without grounding collapses under pressure. Coherence is quieter than all of these. It feels neutral, clear, undramatic. And that is precisely why it is powerful. When coherence is present, the nervous system exits survival mode. The body stops scanning constantly for threat. Perception widens. Subtle information becomes accessible. Timing improves. This is not accidental. The heart and brain communicate through electrical and chemical signals. When these signals synchronize, variability decreases. The system becomes predictable to itself. Predictability internally creates trust externally. Others sense this stability without knowing why. They relax in its presence. Their own nervous systems downshift. Conversations slow. Decisions clarify. This is the first mechanical layer of magnetism. Not attraction through force, but attraction through regulation. The archive draws from studies conducted in the late 20th century, where researchers observed that individuals in coherent states influenced group dynamics disproportionately. Teams performed better. Conflicts resolved faster. Creative output increased. Yet the individuals themselves were not necessarily dominant or expressive. They were settled. This settlement is often misread as confidence. But confidence can be brittle. It depends on outcomes. Coherence does not. It persists regardless of success or failure. This persistence is critical. Magnetism does not emerge from peak states. It emerges from stable baselines. A person who is calm only when things go well is not coherent. They are conditional. True coherence holds under uncertainty. The archive identifies this as the threshold where internal order begins influencing external probability. When a person is coherent, they respond rather than react. Response creates options. Reaction narrows them. Options attract opportunity. This is why coherent individuals often appear to have more chances. In reality, they see more chances because their perception is not hijacked by urgency or fear. They are not faster. They are earlier. Coherence also reduces signaling errors. Incoherent individuals broadcast mixed cues. Their words say one thing. Their tone suggests another. Their timing contradicts both. Others pick up on this instantly. The response is hesitation. Hesitation delays convergence. Coherent individuals send cleaner signals. Even when they say little, what they say aligns with how they say it and when they say it. This alignment creates trust without persuasion. Trust accelerates everything. The archive notes that coherence is not rare because it is difficult, but because it is uncomfortable to achieve. Coherence requires confronting internal contradictions rather than masking them. It demands letting go of identities that depend on tension. It requires releasing goals that generate constant internal resistance. Many people prefer familiar friction to unfamiliar clarity, because friction at least feels earned. Clarity feels exposed. Yet magnetism requires exposure, not of secrets, but of alignment. When internal architecture stabilizes, the environment begins responding differently. Not dramatically at first, subtly. Conversations go smoother. Introductions happen sooner. Delays shorten. Resistance softens. These changes are easy to dismiss individually. Together they compound. This is the mechanism at work. Coherence is not mystical. It is infrastructural. It builds the foundation upon which magnetism operates. Without it, no technique works reliably. With it, outcomes begin to organize themselves with less effort. The archive marks coherence as the entry point, not the destination. Because once coherence stabilizes, another layer activates. A layer that explains why some aligned minds begin influencing probability itself. That layer is resonance. Section 2. Resonance, how alignment amplifies outcomes. Coherence creates order. Resonance determines reach. Where coherence stabilizes the internal system, resonance explains why that system begins interacting with the world in a way that feels amplified. Why actions seem to carry farther, why intentions echo back with disproportionate effect. Resonance is not force. It is synchronization. In physics, resonance occurs when two systems share compatible frequencies. Energy transfers efficiently. Small inputs produce large effects. Resistance drops. The archive applies this principle carefully to human systems, not metaphorically but behaviorally. When an individual is coherent, their internal signals become consistent. When those signals encounter external systems, people, environments, opportunities, that are even partially compatible, interaction accelerates. This acceleration is often mistaken for luck. But luck is random. Resonance is selective. Magnetic individuals do not attract everything. They attract what matches. This is a crucial distinction. Many people attempt to become magnetic by broadening appeal, trying to be liked by everyone, useful everywhere, adaptable to all situations. This creates dilution. Resonance requires specificity. A clear signal resonates more strongly than a broad one. This is why individuals who are deeply aligned often polarize reactions. Some people feel drawn. Others feel nothing, or even resistance. The archive considers this a sign of signal clarity, not failure. Noise attracts weakly across many systems. Clarity attracts strongly within compatible systems. Resonance also explains why certain individuals repeatedly find themselves in the right rooms, without consciously seeking them. Their signal matches the environment's needs before those needs are explicitly articulated. They are noticed not because they announce themselves, but because they fit. Fit is felt before it is reasoned. In organizational studies, this phenomenon appears as intuitive hiring or gut-level trust. In creative fields, it manifests as collaborators finding one another quickly and working fluidly. In relationships, it appears as instant rapport without explanation. These are not accidents. They are moments of resonance. The archive emphasizes that resonance does not override skill. It amplifies it. When skill and resonance align, progress feels exponential. When skill exists without resonance, progress feels linear and exhausting. This difference is not moral. It is mechanical. Resonance also alters feedback loops. In incoherent systems, feedback arrives late and distorted. Effort produces unclear results. Individuals overcorrect or disengage. In resonant systems, feedback arrives quickly. Signals are clear. Adjustment is precise. This speed compounds. Magnetic individuals often iterate faster. Not because they work harder but because the environment responds cleanly to their actions. This creates learning acceleration. Acceleration creates advantage. The archive notes that resonance is highly sensitive to internal incongruence. Even minor unresolved conflicts can dampen signal strength. This is why magnetism fluctuates when individuals betray their own alignment, pursuing goals that do not fit, maintaining relationships that drain regulation, or performing identities that feel false. Signal distortion follows. Resonance weakens. The world feels resistant again. This leads to a dangerous misunderstanding. People assume magnetism has left them. In reality, coherence has been compromised. Resonance is not lost. It is interrupted. Restoring it requires less effort than maintaining performance, but more honesty. Resonance also explains timing. Aligned individuals often act at moments that feel unusually precise. They speak when others hesitate. They wait when others rush. This is not foresight. It is sensitivity. Their internal state allows them to detect subtle shifts in external systems. They feel when momentum is building or dissipating. They move accordingly. This responsiveness creates the illusion of prediction. In truth, it is feedback sensitivity amplified by resonance. The archive documents this across domains: finance, art, science, leadership. Those who resonate with emerging patterns arrive early, not because they see the future but because they feel the present more accurately. This accuracy is the product of low internal noise. Resonance also has a social dimension. Humans unconsciously synchronize with stable signals. Speech patterns align. Body language mirrors. Emotional states entrain. This is why groups often organize themselves around a coherent individual even without explicit leadership. Resonance creates gravity. Not through dominance but through ease. People move toward what requires less internal adjustment. A coherent, resonant individual is easier to align with than a fragmented one. Their presence simplifies coordination. This simplification is valuable. Value attracts attention. Attention attracts resources. Resources amplify outcomes. The mechanism unfolds quietly. No manipulation is required. In fact, manipulation disrupts resonance. It introduces dissonance between intention and behavior. Others sense this immediately. Trust collapses. The archive is clear. Resonance cannot be faked sustainably. Techniques may simulate it briefly. But under pressure, dissonance reveals itself. Only alignment endures. This brings us to a critical insight. Resonance is not about becoming more. It is about becoming truer. Removing what does not fit sharpens what does. As signal clarity increases, the world responds more decisively. Not because reality is being controlled, but because compatibility has been established. This is the second layer of the mechanism. Coherence stabilizes the system. Resonance connects it. And when connection reaches sufficient strength, a third phenomenon emerges. One that challenges conventional ideas about chance itself. The archive refers to this next layer as probability drift. Section 3. Probability drift. When chance stops being neutral, probability is supposed to be impartial. In theory, it treats all participants equally. Outcomes emerge from distributions, not preferences. Events occur because conditions align, not because someone deserves them. And yet, the archive repeatedly encounters cases where probability appears to favor certain individuals over time. Not once, not dramatically, but consistently. This consistency is the anomaly. Toggle. The archive uses the term probability drift to describe a subtle but measurable shift in how often favorable outcomes cluster around coherent, resonant individuals. Not miracles, not impossibilities, just more often than expected. The key word is drift. Probability does not break. It bends. Small advantages accumulate. Delays shorten. Errors self-correct faster. Near misses turn into narrow successes. Individually, each event falls within statistical plausibility. Collectively, the pattern becomes difficult to ignore. This is why probability drift escapes scrutiny. No single outcome proves anything. But over time, the distribution skews. The archive emphasizes that probability drift does not imply conscious control over randomness. There is no evidence that individuals can will specific events into existence. What changes is exposure. Coherent, resonant individuals place themselves, often unconsciously, into streams of interaction where favorable outcomes are more likely. They attend different meetings. They ask different questions. They leave situations earlier or later than others. They respond rather than hesitate. Each decision slightly alters the probability landscape. Over time, these micro-adjustments compound. Probability drift emerges from positioning, not manipulation. This reframes luck entirely. Luck is not an event. It is a distribution over time. Magnetic individuals are not luckier at random moments. They are luckier on average. The archive finds this distinction critical. Chance is often analyzed as isolated incidents. Drift requires longitudinal observation. When researchers finally began tracking patterns rather than moments, anomalies surfaced. In studies of entrepreneurial outcomes, for example, a small subset of founders consistently encountered favorable breaks. Introductions at the right moment, funding windows opening unexpectedly, partnerships forming just in time. These founders were not the most aggressive. They were the most regulated. Their decision-making remained stable under uncertainty. They avoided panic pivots. They exited losing paths earlier. As a result, they spent more time in viable environments. Time is a probability amplifier. The longer one remains in high-quality environments, the greater the chance of encountering high-quality outcomes. This seems obvious. But incoherent individuals sabotage this advantage by staying too long in dead-end situations or abandoning promising ones prematurely. Probability drift favors those who maintain signal clarity long enough for alignment to materialize. Another critical factor is error recovery. When something goes wrong, incoherent systems amplify the damage. Panic cascades. Blame fragments focus. Overcorrection introduces new errors. In coherent systems, error is absorbed. Response remains proportional. Recovery is faster. Faster recovery keeps the system within favorable probability ranges. This is why magnetic individuals often experience setbacks that do not derail them, while others are derailed by smaller obstacles. It is not resilience in the heroic sense. It is regulation. The archive also notes a social dimension to probability drift. People are more willing to extend grace to coherent individuals. Mistakes are forgiven more easily. Delays are tolerated longer. Second chances are offered sooner. This is not favoritism. It is trust. Trust alters probability. When others give you more latitude, you have more room to recover. More room increases survival odds. Again, this compounds. Probability drift also affects perception. Aligned individuals notice opportunities sooner and act with less internal resistance. They are less likely to self-sabotage at critical moments. Many people fail not because opportunity is absent, but because fear disrupts timing. They hesitate. They rationalize. They miss the window. Coherent individuals move when the signal arrives. This responsiveness narrows the gap between perception and action. Narrow gaps produce results. The archive stresses that probability drift is fragile. It collapses when coherence breaks. When individuals betray alignment, chasing status, performing roles, ignoring internal signals, noise returns. Drift slows. The world feels resistant again. This often leads to superstition. People believe their luck ran out. In reality, their signal degraded. Restoring drift requires returning to alignment, not increasing effort. This is counterintuitive. Effort feels like control. Alignment feels like surrender. But probability responds to positioning, not force. The archive records cases where individuals regain momentum not by pushing harder, but by stepping back, simplifying, and recalibrating. Once coherence returned, probability drift resumed. Subtly. Quietly. As before. The unsettling implication is this. Chance is not entirely neutral. It is shaped by how systems interact. And coherent systems interact more favorably with complexity. Not because they bend reality, but because they remain intact within it. This leads to the final mechanism of Part 2. A layer that explains why some minds seem to influence others' behavior effortlessly. Why doors open without asking. Why help arrives unrequested. The archive refers to this as social gravity. Section 4. Social gravity, why people move toward magnetic minds. Human behavior is often explained as choice, but much of it is response. People like to believe they decide who to trust, who to follow, who to help, and who to avoid. In reality, these decisions are frequently made before conscious reasoning begins. The archive refers to this pre-rational movement as social gravity. Social gravity is the tendency of individuals and groups to orient themselves towards signals of stability, coherence, and low internal noise. This orientation is not ideological. It is biological. Human nervous systems evolved to seek regulation. In uncertain environments, proximity to a regulated individual increases survival odds. Calm spreads. Panic diminishes. Coordination improves. This mechanism predates language. It operates beneath belief. Magnetic individuals do not pull others toward them. Others drift toward stability. This is why social gravity is often invisible to the person generating it. They are not performing influence. They are simply not leaking tension. Tension repels. Regulation attracts. The archive observes that in group settings, attention unconsciously reorganizes itself around the most regulated person in the room, not the loudest, most authoritative, or most charismatic. The regulated individual becomes the reference signal. Others check their reactions against this signal. They mirror pace. They adjust tone. They wait for cues. This happens even when the individual holds no formal role. Leadership emerges without announcement. This explains a recurring puzzle. Why certain people seem to end up in leadership positions despite avoiding them. Social gravity appoints them. The group moves toward coherence because coherence reduces collective effort. Every interaction requires adjustment. When one person is internally aligned, interacting with them requires less adaptation. Conversations flow. Decisions clarify. Misunderstandings resolve faster. Over time, groups economize around this ease. They choose the path of least internal resistance. This choice is rarely verbalized. It simply happens. The archive notes that social gravity also governs trust. Trust is not built solely on history or proof. It is built on felt predictability. When someone's responses are consistent, proportional, and aligned with their words, trust accelerates. Inconsistent signals slow trust. Magnetic individuals send fewer inconsistent signals. They do not oscillate wildly between certainty and doubt. They do not overpromise and underdeliver. They do not perform personas that collapse under pressure. This steadiness creates a gravitational effect. Others feel safe leaning in. This safety alters behavior. People disclose information earlier. They ask for advice sooner. They offer help without being prompted. These micro-behaviors compound into access. Access becomes opportunity. Opportunity amplifies outcomes. From the outside it looks like networking. From the inside it feels effortless. The archive is careful to distinguish social gravity from popularity. Popularity seeks approval. Social gravity invites alignment. Popular individuals often exhaust themselves maintaining appeal. Magnetic individuals conserve energy by being consistent. This consistency creates a different type of attention. Not admiration. Reliance. Groups rely on what is stable. This reliance can be dangerous if misunderstood. Magnetic individuals sometimes find themselves burdened by expectations they did not seek. Others project authority onto them. Responsibility accumulates. This is one reason some magnetic individuals withdraw periodically, not out of arrogance but self-regulation. Social gravity is not inherently virtuous. It amplifies whatever signal exists. If coherence is paired with integrity, influence stabilizes systems. If coherence is paired with manipulation, influence destabilizes them. The archive includes cases of both. This is why magnetism must be understood as a mechanism, not a moral quality. Social gravity also explains resistance. Some individuals feel discomfort around magnetic minds. Their own internal noise becomes more noticeable in contrast. This creates defensiveness. Rather than aligning, they withdraw or criticize. This is not hostility toward the individual. It is discomfort with the mirror. The presence of coherence exposes incoherence. Not intentionally, but inevitably. This explains why magnetic individuals often attract both loyalty and opposition, sometimes simultaneously. They are not polarizing by intent. They are clarifying by presence. The archive notes a final layer to social gravity: attention inheritance. When people trust a coherent individual, they extend trust to what that individual engages with. Ideas gain traction faster. Projects receive goodwill. Others assume viability. This inheritance accelerates momentum. It is fragile, however. If coherence breaks, inherited trust evaporates quickly. Social gravity depends on sustained regulation. Not performance. Not persuasion. Presence. This brings part 2 to a critical threshold. Coherence stabilizes the system. Resonance connects it. Probability drift bends outcomes. Social gravity reorganizes groups. Together, these mechanisms explain how magnetism operates without mysticism. But they also reveal a danger. Because once these forces are understood, even partially, they can be misused. The archive therefore turns next to the cost of magnetism. The hidden pressure. The isolation. The internal toll. This is where many narratives stop, and where the most important truths begin. Section 5. The cost of magnetism: why alignment is not comfort. Magnetism is often misunderstood as ease. From the outside it appears effortless. Doors open. People listen. Timing aligns. Resistance seems minimal. This appearance is misleading. The archive is explicit on this point. Alignment is not comfort. In many cases, it is the opposite. Coherence reduces friction with the environment, but it often increases friction within identity. As internal alignment strengthens, misaligned structures become impossible to ignore. This creates pressure. Not external pressure. Internal. Magnetic individuals frequently report a paradoxical experience. As life becomes smoother on the surface, it becomes more demanding beneath it. Why? Because coherence removes excuses. When internal noise quiets, avoidance becomes visible. Rationalizations lose power. Patterns that once hid behind chaos stand exposed. Alignment demands consistency. Once a person experiences the benefits of coherence, clear perception, clean feedback, social gravity, they become accountable to it. They cannot easily return to incoherence without consequence. This creates a cost. The archive documents a recurring trajectory. Early magnetism feels validating. Momentum increases. Others respond positively. Opportunities arrive. Then something shifts. The individual begins noticing subtle dissonances. Roles that no longer fit. Relationships that drain regulation. Goals that generate tension rather than clarity. Environments that require performance instead of presence. These misalignments were always there. But coherence makes them intolerable. This is the first cost: selectivity. As magnetism increases, tolerance for misfit decreases. The individual must choose more carefully or suffer rapid signal degradation. This leads to difficult decisions, leaving situations that appear successful from the outside, disappointing others' expectations, abandoning identities that once provided security. Observers often misinterpret this as self-sabotage. In reality, it is signal preservation. The archive emphasizes that magnetism is fragile in the presence of sustained misalignment. Internal contradiction reintroduces noise. Resonance weakens. Social gravity destabilizes. Aligned individuals sense this quickly. They feel it as exhaustion without cause, irritation without explanation, loss of clarity. These are warning signals. Ignoring them is costly. Another cost is projection. As social gravity increases, others project authority, wisdom, or certainty onto the magnetic individual. Expectations inflate. Requests accumulate. The individual becomes a reference point. This can be flattering, can also be suffocating. Magnetic individuals are often asked to decide, lead, stabilize, or resolve, sometimes without consent. Their presence becomes a resource others rely on. This creates an ethical burden. How much responsibility to accept, when to withdraw, when to disappoint deliberately. These decisions are not trivial. Overextension erodes coherence. The archive records cases where individuals lost magnetism not through corruption, but through overavailability. They gave too much access. They allowed others' chaos to leak into their regulation. Magnetism diminished, not because alignment vanished, but because boundaries failed. Boundaries are not barriers. They are coherence safeguards. This is a critical lesson. Another cost is isolation. As alignment sharpens, casual connection often decreases. Small talk feels strained. Performative interactions drain energy. Social environments built on shared incoherence become uncomfortable. This can feel lonely. Not emotionally, but structurally. Magnetic individuals often find fewer peers who can meet them at their level of regulation. They are not superior. They are simply less noisy. This difference creates distance. The archive notes that many magnetic individuals experience periods of withdrawal, not depression but recalibration. They retreat to restore signal clarity. Observers misinterpret this as aloofness. In reality, it is maintenance. There is also the cost of visibility without protection. Magnetism attracts attention, but not immunity. Errors are noticed. Deviations are scrutinized. Silence is interpreted. Because influence exists without title, it lacks institutional shielding. Magnetic individuals often navigate high exposure with low formal authority. This requires precision. Missteps can carry disproportionate impact. This pressure sharpens self-regulation, but also demands restraint. The archive does not romanticize this. Magnetism is not a reward. It is a responsibility. And like all responsibilities, it must be chosen consciously, or it becomes a burden. The final cost is the most subtle. Loss of plausible denial. When coherence is absent, failure can be blamed on confusion, chaos, or lack of clarity. When coherence is present, failure points inward. This is uncomfortable. Alignment removes external excuses. If something feels wrong, it usually is. If momentum fades, coherence has likely been compromised. This creates a continuous feedback loop. Some find this empowering. Others find it exhausting. This is why not everyone sustains magnetism. Not because they cannot, but because they choose comfort over clarity. The archive considers this choice neither weak nor wrong. Alignment is demanding. It simplifies life, but intensifies responsibility. It removes friction, but increases precision. It attracts opportunity, but requires discernment. This is the full mechanism. Coherence stabilizes the system. Resonance connects it. Probability drift bends outcomes. Social gravity reorganizes groups. Cost determines sustainability. Together, they explain why magnetism is rare, not because it is inaccessible but because it is uncompromising. The archive closes part 2 with this observation. Magnetism is not something you acquire. It is something you maintain. And maintenance requires honesty few are prepared to sustain indefinitely. What you've just heard is not theory. It is not motivation. And it is not optimism disguised as science. It is a pattern, observed, documented, and quietly acknowledged across disciplines that rarely speak to one another. The magnetic mind is not rare because it is gifted. It is rare because it is maintained. Alignment demands honesty. Boundaries demand courage. Clarity demands the willingness to walk away from what no longer fits, no matter how convincing it once appeared. And that is the cost few are willing to pay. If you recognize parts of yourself in this archive file, if you felt that pull toward coherence, that discomfort when misalignment appears, then you are already closer to this phenomenon than you may realize. This archive is not complete without lived data. Open File folder if you've experienced moments of alignment, synchronicity, or unexplained momentum. Share your observations in the comments. Your experience helps expand the record. To continue accessing future archive files like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this entry with others who sense there is more beneath the surface of reality. In part 3 we will open a more volatile file. We will examine the signal disruptors, the silent forces that weaken magnetism, fracture coherence, and dismantle alignment without warning. Not everyone loses the signal by accident. Some are taught to. The archive will explain. Until then, remain observant. The system is always responding, even when you are not watching. End of file.